Greetings, people of the interwebs. Once more joining my co-hosts, Jordan and Dave. And this time we'll be talking about Marvel just as a whole, whether it be the cinematic universe and their movies, the comics,
the
TV
toys.
shows, toys.
Is that what that means, cinematic universe?
But I think for the most part we'll focus a bit more on the comics. And just like, because, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that it's massive right now. I think it's kind of getting a new wave of people into the comics.
That's the goal, even though print is dying in general.
Yeah.
But especially with, like, the first issue.
You could still read digital comics,
Yeah.
but I will, but personally I prefer holding it in my hands.
Not big on the digital.
Where I feel a little... With like a novel or something,
cheated.
I could read a Kindle, but with a comic, I guess it's just with those big page spreads. And
and I
just don't like reading it.
I like collecting
on a
things.
screen.
Yeah.
So if I could have an issue, I don't want something to just
Actually be worth a little bit of money one day,
expiration
too,
to die out on that issue.
But I mean, especially with, like...
it's cool to go back and just like flip through your collection and see the stuff that you have too.
I think we all could agree that the first issue of Ant-Man, the launch
let's get
was
something really
great.
like...
really recent.
I never would have picked it up,
Just
but...
picked up the second issue
what your thoughts were on that, actually.
Yeah, because like when we did the trailer analysis of Ant-Man, I picked it up
If
If you haven't watched
I picked it up that day, but I
stop this
hadn't.
right now and go watch that.
Or just
Also
finish watching
finish this one.
Yeah, finish watching this first, and then you can go and rewatch it. But
In whatever order. I'm not telling you how to live your life. Just
I think you are.
make sure those are the only two things I want you to do is just watch these two videos. That's
Dave's
all
way or
I'm
the
asking
highway.
you.
But anyways, because at the time we recorded the Ant-Man
I'm
trailer
going to tell you
analysis,
how to watch our videos.
Stop
just
talking.
As long as you watch them.
Mute him.
like I'd picked it up, but I hadn't read it. But I have read it to the point of this recording, and thought it was really great.
Yes.
Biggest
like,
surprise I've had in quite a while.
Yeah, like I'm actually really looking forward to the movie.
Biggest surprise of the year.
It started the year off pretty good.
Of the 6 weeks we've been
say
in.
that.
So.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to.
I can also, it got us
I
a
feel
little
like
more amped
that's
for the
definitely the way
film.
the movie's going.
Yeah. And
It's fairly easy to tell, but the humor.
Just the length
It's
of it
funnier
was great.
than even like Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's more. It's supposed to be more of the humorous kind. It's way funnier than Deadpool's been.
Yeah, I can never say for a comic I've actually got my $5 worth of that issue.
Especially when they're getting that expensive.
Yeah.
But and I did like that a lot of those
It was an extended
$5 issues. It was extended. Like you didn't just get.
It wasn't a
bunch of,
preview of another comic that I'm not.
Yeah.
bonus feature, or like alternate covers or whatever sort of BS to
It was
justify
actually
charging
a
you
legit.
more.
It was a good story. It felt like almost like 2 issues. Or,
Pretty much, basically was.
it
It
felt
was
like
just.
It was a great
The
debut.
humor was on, but it hit the serious points as well.
I think we mentioned this in the Ant-Man one as well, but the authors and they knew what they were doing going into this issue. Like Ant-Man's looked at as kind of a silly, you make fun of this character, and they took that and ran with it.
Yeah, because I think actually in the first
they weren't
issue,
trying to be like, oh, I'm the big action hero, I'm Ant-Man.
Because
I
basically
know I've sucked for
guys,
years.
I understand. It's kind of cool though.
And I'm trying to come back.
It's like I enjoy being Ant-Man, but I can kind of see where from the outside people are like, this is really dumb.
Because I think like even in the comic, it's kind of got his overview, and he's just kind of introducing himself. This is Scott Lang, the Scott Lang Ant-Man, by the way. He mentions that he'll be at like a party or something like that, or just talking to people, and just kind of like, I'm friends with like Thor and Captain America, and they're like, oh cool, well, what's your superpower? I'm Ant-Man, and they're like, oh yeah. So I thought that was really funny that again he's very well aware that Ant-Man. But definitely worth looking into. I'd highly recommend the viewers to look into it.
Further proof that a good writer or a good concept can really turn even the silliest character around.
Because I probably never would have picked up the issue, but you will highly recommend
Jordan
it.
Jordan just kind of picked it up, looking forward to the movie. I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. Well, it's the first issue.
There were several weeks where we go to a comic shop together and. You'd be like, I should go ahead and get Ant-Man. If I wasn't saying anything I was going to pick up. And I finally acquiesced. And
it's like we did for Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't as extended. I will admit I was not really caring about Ant-Man at all.
Yeah.
And then I'm definitely glad I picked it. I was really glad about Hobgoblin. Good
I don't even know if I knew it was coming out. Really, I just kind of saw
Picked it
I
up
just
on
saw
one.
a bit of an impulse. Like, I might as well.
So I was like, looks
Character,
okay.
you
And
might-
I just watched the trailer and I was like, trailer looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might
So,
give you a little insight.
I was like, and it's just one issue. If I don't like it, I don't have to get it again.
Yeah.
And it turned out
You're
to
not
be
out of
a
a lot.
huge,
Yeah.
a huge deal for me.
I mean, usually you have to, even if it's good, you want to give it a couple, couple issues. Generally, I'm
Kind
not
of like what you said with
so
Darth Vader
sold.
tonight.
Yeah,
It's another
more,
Marvel series.
Just I'm glad they're, Marvel's really pushing. They got the comics rights back. Not only are they doing the movies, but they've gotten the comics going right away. I like the right now. All we have is just the Star Wars series and a Darth Vader series and the upcoming Princess Leia series, which I'm more excited about than I thought because Mark Waid, one of my favorite writers, is going to be writing it. So I'm looking more forward to it than I thought.
Marvel comics, just in general, have really been bringing it.
Yeah. And again, I think a lot of it is due to the fact that the huge, phenomenal success of the films is, I think a lot of the people who see these films and are huge fans are kind of like, oh, maybe I'll actually read some Guardians of the Galaxy comics. Maybe it's just like they pick up an issue and then they're like, oh, this is actually
Star Lord series, Rocket Raccoon
that's
series,
really,
Guardians
that got me
team
in
up.
wanting to read. After watching Guardians, I wanted to read something with Guardians, and I saw Star Lord's series was starting, so I'm still reading that.
Pretty much reads like Chris, like Chris Pratt.
Yeah. So I guess just like who are. We'll start with you, Jordan. I know we've kind of mentioned it before in some of the comic
series.
but I guess
series I'm reading.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to take it in a different direction.
What?
Quit trying to take over the control of my channel, Dave.
Yeah, for real, Dave.
You're a co-host. Learn your place.
Some Marvel series I'm reading right now. Like we mentioned Ant-Man. I was reading Amazing Spider-Man. They're kind of on this Spider-Verse thing where I'm getting a little lost.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
So I technically am kind of reading it, so I will be picking that up again. I'm reading Thor, Star Wars, and I picked up Vader, Daredevil. I'd like to get
Daredevil's the only thing I've been keeping with
back
forever.
into Deadpool again.
Yeah.
It's just
that first story arc I thought was pretty good with the Dead Presidents, and I just thought with like comedians
I'm waiting
writing
for them to.
The Brian Posehn, I like what I've seen of his stand-up. Jerry Duggan. I don't know. After that first, I think they tried to get a little bit too serious with it, and then it just the whole thing with was her name Prescott or Preston or something being in his head.
It was a little confusing
too long.
too, especially I think if
was too long.
If you just came into that, like you just picked it up, like you'd be totally lost.
Too long and too confusing for what I think really only brought one or two good jokes to it.
Yeah.
So
when it's supposed to be like this big hilarious concept, he's got
I'd like them
black
to
woman in his head.
I'd like them to pick, maybe even start that over again. Maybe I know they.
It is a bit.
I started
of a
Captain America.
That they keep relaunching everything.
Yeah, they keep relaunching.
2 months later.
That's getting a little annoying for some.
Especially since they're about.
There's tons of X-Men series. I'm not currently reading.
They're dissolving the Ultimate Universe.
There's tons of X-Men out there.
The new Captain America though, I'll bring something up that I kind of would like to point out, but once we kind of finish our current series that we're on.
I think
I had another point about Spider-Man
and Star Lord,
get into that.
But yeah, I think that's all I'm reading.
Yeah,
for
my whole
Marvel.
thing. I was reading Amazing, but I guess for those of you who aren't aware, with the whole Superior Spider-Man thing, when they ended the old Amazing Spider-Man series, which was 700 something issues, Doc Ock had put his brain into, because Doc Ock in the comics, his body was decaying.
Yeah.
Spoiler
He'd been
alert.
dying for however long they kept him around for him. I don't know what that would average out in real time and comic time, whatever, but basically he switches bodies with Peter Parker. On paper sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It took me a while, but then Richard,
Then you got used to
who
it,
used to be
and
on this
then
podcast, gave me like the first
series
10
ended.
issues. Yeah, and I wound up really liking Superior Spider-Man. Then, as predictably, the series ended 32, 33 issues, something. And now I don't want to read Amazing again. I mean, I love Peter Parker. Everybody's back.
Yeah, I liked Amazing until really this whole Spider-Verse.
And then I tried getting back into it, and then the whole Spider-Verse.
It's just confusing. It could be good. Don't
it's just
don't kill me, message board people. But it could, it might.
I will check it out. Like when the trades come out, I'll check it out.
I'm just getting a little, because I'm reading so much other things.
I'd rather spend my.
I'm still trying to finish the original Ultimate Spider-Man from the Brian
if
Michael
it was
Bendis
still,
days.
and then you're not even talking about Miles Morales either.
No,
the, like original.
Yeah, I'm talking about the good one.
I like what I've read of Miles so far.
The better one.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But, yeah, that's a current series I was reading.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I was reading Marvel? Amazing.
We're pretty much reading the same.
Kind of
things.
on and off from our. Yeah, Daredevil's the only thing that I've really just through and through. Even when I've.
It's a must.
Not really
must
been reading.
up.
Yeah, even when I'm just like trying to save money and not really reading anything else. I've always because I've been on and off with comics for a while, but Daredevil's been the only constant. Mark Waid, Chris Samney. Got a lot of great artists on that. It's got a bit of a different look, and I do like something that I think Jake and I have discussed privately. Not all our discussions are for the podcast, but
well, I've only known you guys a few months, so
yeah.
We discussed in our last video before our cry for help.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe these videos are a cry for help, but yeah, something I like about more has more of a variety of artists, whereas I feel DC kind of has, which I mean I think there is some not necessarily a negative thing to be said about the uniformity of it. But admittedly, I'm not really reading a ton of DC stuff right now. But the only person I can really think of off the top of my head that really looks any different is kind of Greg Capullo's stuff on Batman.
There's so many Batman series out there too. It's like,
but I mean, I just saying it all kind of looks like they're almost drawn by the same person, which it does. I mean, that keeps you in the same universe. But at the same time, it's not.
I guess it doesn't really immerse you into it as much.
Not the only reason I read comics is like just the story or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the art, really appreciate the artwork, much like in this new Darth Vader series. Even though I thought the issue itself, the story was a little boring. I mean, the artwork by Salvador Roca is amazing. So it's a visual thing too. I mean, he's one of those guys where sometimes you'll read you'll read other series and you'll just kind of read the bubbles and the artwork is fine. But he's always one of those guys to me who just makes you gotta stop and take an extra couple seconds to
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Which I find myself not doing enough, really. Cause sometimes if I've got a lot of stuff to read, I just kind of want to get through the story, but then I'll be like, something will catch me off. I was like, this is really good. And I kind of flip back and I was like, how did I miss this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people try and do that with those big splash pages and everything.
Yeah.
But,
Which I find myself doing it more, like appreciating more.
But. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own sensibilities, but I guess that's something we could talk about a bit too after. I'm trying to think of other. I mean, Hobgoblin was a bit of. Yeah, it was a limited run. Really good though.
Yeah, I picked that up recently.
Only 3, but I thought I really liked the concept of it.
I've picked up the first 2 and read them, and I thoroughly enjoyed them.
You like them?
Yeah, really good.
I feel like they could have gotten a couple more issues. Out of that.
Yeah, I don't know why it was just 3. It's kind of usually you do 4 or 5 and call it quits. I don't know why it was 3.
Trade, really, 'cause
3 strikes you're out. But it was a great series. Why is it out?
Yeah.
No, man. Yeah, I really like the bringing back the original guy.
Yeah.
As
Kingsley.
well. Roger Kingsley, and then Phil does come in, but I like that it tied in a bit to the whole Goblin Nation thing at the end of Superior.
Yeah, it left me wanting more.
And, I mean, I'm glad it ended well.
It was it ended really well, but it's like even if it's not Kingsley, just like another Hobgoblin, like give me another limited series or something.
Yeah, I really like that for a while. I'm reading the Star Wars stuff, Star-Lord. I think we're pretty much, as far as Marvel stuff goes, we're pretty much reading basically the same thing. I was reading Spider-Man 2099 for a while, which is fine, but it just, I don't know. It wasn't enough.
Not enough for the
wasn't enough for my
$4.
Yeah, for my $4. I'd rather
buy some cigs.
I've
those
kind of
e-cigs are expensive.
I've kind of, I guess, just now started to delve further into the Marvel comics myself. Because as I've stated in other previous podcasts, I'm kind of just now starting to read comics on a regular basis. Once again, I did pick up Ant-Man and Hobgoblin, as you all mentioned.
Always trying to suggest
2 good recommendations for the year.
I do plan on picking up the Star Wars ones, the Vader and the just Star Wars one. But
you gotta pick up Vader just because Vader's awesome.
Yeah,
and like I was just on my soapbox about, if for anything, the artwork.
Yeah. But I did recently pick up Punisher Year 1, because Punisher is one of my favorite Marvel.
Yeah, I guess we can start getting more into characters.
One of my favorite Marvel characters, just for the fact that he he'll actually kill people. Which I'm not saying like, oh, I want a hero that kills people, but it's like, which will also kind of bring me to the new Captain America thing. Okay. But cause I think it was actually in Civil War that Captain America like personally chose Punisher to be on his team. Because I think like he actually like just beat him to a pulp. Because he doesn't approve of what Punisher does. Because it's like, oh no, that's not what heroes do. They don't kill people. But at the same time, I think it's one of those things where he's aware that it's a necessary evil. Like, obviously, you can't always catch the bad guy and be like, alright, I beat you, don't do it again. Whereas Punisher's just like, I'm just gonna shoot you.
Which would do a good point, though. I guess other differences between Marvel and DC. I feel like Marvel lives in the real world a bit more.
Yeah.
They're, it's not all black and white. Even characters like Captain America.
Well, they use real cities, too.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That helps, I think.
Yeah.
When you have an actual.
Well, Gotham City is really kind of like Chicago.
Yeah.
Or I've heard New York at night.
Yeah.
Metropolis is New York at day. But not that that's a huge. But I guess it does sort of put you in the. But I mean, they kind of deal even with somebody as sort of outdated as Captain America, kind of dealing with those, and you even saw it in the movie a bit, like dealing with more of the modern issues. It's not all black and white.
Yeah.
It's red, white.
One thing that I thought would have been really cool,
doesn't always have to be black,
is because I think Falcon is the current Captain America, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it would have been cool to have Frank Castle as Captain America. And
might
here's
why.
Check
that out because I just don't really care about the Falcon.
But here's why, though. Like, I think it would have added more dynamic because obviously we all know Punisher's backstory. He's a former military background, just like Steve Rogers, and Punisher basically worships Captain America. So I think like the transition, like he maybe would kind of be more Punisher in terms of like he might kill a few people or just beat them senseless, and maybe eventually kind of ease into actually being like, okay, well I'm representing Captain America now, not Punisher, so I have to.
Would be the superior Spider-Man sort of
a little bit
the issue that I guess Doc Ock was having about I kill people and stuff, but now I'm representing something greater than myself type of dichotomy, I guess.
Which, with the Punisher, I really like the Punisher. I haven't read a whole lot of his stuff from the few comics I have read in volumes.
Daredevil crossover.
Yeah, I like that. He's a cool character. What I'd like to see, since we're having such a big boom in the Marvel films, I'd like to see Punisher get brought back.
So here's the thing that
they've done several that never really did that.
Well, they did the 04 one and the 08.
Like
some stuff was good.
There wasn't even
really
publicity for those.
Yeah, it's just
like they didn't.
Here's like my comparisons. Cause actually getting a big debate with my dad because he's a big Punisher fan.
Cool.
So like the 2004 one had Thomas Jane as Punisher, which I like that movie. It was a better film than the 2008 one with Ray Stevenson. However, I thought he was perfect for Punisher. Like just in like the way he looked. Really good actor.
Would also
had the right build for it.
Yeah.
But that movie was just terrible.
It just was campy. Just the way the storylines.
Yeah.
You got to have a good storyline.
There's so many factors.
Yeah. But I think the Punisher would be a good candidate just to have a really cool action film.
The downside though is now that Disney
he's perfect for that.
But now that Disney has I don't see them doing like a rated R. Which that's really
Gosling is
that's
Punisher.
the best way you can do Punisher is rated R. But I don't see
the only reason they're doing that rated R Deadpool movie is it's Fox.
Yeah. So I don't see
looking
Disney
forward to that, though.
Doing like having a rated R movie under their belt.
That kind of sucks.
I mean PG-13.
That is the one big downside to it.
You have to make the Punisher R.
Yeah. That is really
not the only reason. Or probably even a huge chunk of why those Wolverine movies aren't working.
Yeah, and even same thing with Blade because they brought they bought that Blade as well.
That's a cool character.
I mean, he was one of the first Marvel films.
Yeah.
So.
And I like the movies for their time.
Big boom.
Yeah, before the Spider-Man.
Really looking back now, they're not that great, but I would like to see. Late 90s.
But
I would like to see them kind of bring back, like Punisher, Blade, because again, they're kind of these more darker.
I'm not a huge fan of like the Ghost Rider, but I think that movie could be good if done right. Yeah, like just the concept of it.
Yeah.
Just the Nicolas Cage ones are terrible like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Never even saw them. I really didn't.
I watched the first
I didn't know much about the character.
Hated it.
Yeah.
Can't believe they made a second one. So.
Yeah. Like
Nick Cage wants to do it.
If Nicolas Cage is in it now, I'm not going to see it.
But also like Daredevil. I like the fact that they're bringing Daredevil back with Netflix. Hopefully they'll do the character justice.
Yeah, I think that will.
Which we did a Daredevil trailer analysis. Check that out.
Yeah. If you want to stop this video and watch that one, if you want to finish this one.
Or just finish this one out and then check out some of other videos.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you how to watch our videos.
Even though the television series is coming out, I would still eventually, doesn't have to be now, I'd still want to see another Daredevil film.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because there's so much potential for it. Even if you use like one of the Frank Miller storylines.
Subtle.
Yeah.
But because Frank Miller had such a great run on Daredevil, in the '80s, and even the Brian Michael Bendis run, you can find films out of that. Even the Guardian Double with Kevin Smith.
It was surprisingly good.
That could be even they probably won't do it, but that could just be a nice little arc during the TV show if it goes over a year.
If they keep going, I don't know with the whole Defenders
thing.
Or
but I'm
just
saying there's plenty of opportunity for Daredevil to get.
Yeah, man. There's no reason. I think Daredevil could be, and I wouldn't even mind them kind of having him separate in the cinematic universe in the same way that they've done with the Dark Knight film. I mean, there's no.
I mean, he's not really.
There's no reason he couldn't be, Marvel's Dark Knight films.
But I mean, also like to my knowledge, Daredevil's not really. He doesn't really affiliate with a lot of the other Marvel. Like, I mean, he'll like have a crossover.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, like he'll have a crossover with like Spider-Man or someone, but he doesn't really.
Spider-Man crossover.
He kind of
just throughout Daredevil's history, Spider-Man's really been
recently because Mark Waid was also writing Hulk.
Yeah, but just like going back into the like 70s, 80s, 90s, really.
Spider-Man's
pretty much. He's been the lone wolf, but like if he did, it was pretty much Spider-Man.
I mean, he was only till recently. He wasn't even in the Avengers till somewhat recently.
Yeah,
pretty much just Storm, Beast, whoever pretty much everybody was.
If
you
all
Avengers.
remember from the Spider-Man cartoon in the '90s, the episodes Daredevil was on. That was the only time we saw like Daredevil in like cartoon
form. He wasn't mainstream.
And I really enjoyed those episodes, by the way.
Oh,
yeah, they were really good. I guess that's what again, more reason why they could keep it separate is like he doesn't really
there's such a
deviate much from Hell's Kitchen.
Dynamic, so much to it character. Like you could just
so
have a movie about Matt Murdock and it'd be pretty good. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean you definitely see a lot of different writers too, like who balances the courtroom side of it, because you could really have. And which is rare in a superhero. You could have so many genres of movies in one. It's a courtroom legal drama. It's a thriller. It's an action movie.
Suspense.
Yeah.
There's the suspense, emotions, and one of the more complex comic characters. I mean, superheroes.
Yeah.
Superhero wise, in general.
That's why I always enjoyed them.
Yeah. And I think more reason why I think the Netflix show will do him justice because they can actually flesh out the character a bit more. And hopefully if it does well, which. I'd say it will. Then maybe they can.
Positive.
We can have our reaction podcast once we watch the first season.
And then maybe if it goes well and they don't do a second season, they can at least do a movie and be like, all right, here's.
It could not.
Here's a film.
Not even for another 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
But as long as they did something.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they start doing once these last two Avengers are done.
Yeah.
I think once Avengers done, things might settle. Just kind of see where we're at. Even though they'll have plenty of it.
But also, again, kind of.
I'm interested to see what their plan is after that. But
Avengers is the big thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the beauty with the Marvel universe is they have so many characters. They can do whether they just expand more with the cinematic universe, like the Doctor Strange movie, the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with those movies being popular, they'll kind of relaunch like comics on Doctor Strange, Black Panther, these lesser known characters. Who have really cool backstories, and they can. I don't know. I guess that's one thing that I always loved about Marvel is you've got so many different options.
Yes.
And again, a lot of the characters are a lot more relatable than some of the DC characters, which I like. I like.
I mean, I'm a big fan of DC. Don't get me wrong.
I really started getting the Green Arrow.
52 when they came out.
Superman. He was the original, right?
but I just feel like Marvel's better at like adapting.
Brandon Routh, best Superman ever.
But I just feel like Marvel's better at adapting to the times and just again with such a huge pool of characters to choose from, they can do.
It always feels like
they want.
Within films, shows, comics, it just seems like Marvel's always one step ahead of the game.
Yeah,
definitely. they're more daring. They're willing to try more, try new things.
I mean, they take risks, and most of the time they pay off. And if they don't, they'll fix it right away.
I think most of the time, and most of these risks they take are actually good. It's not just publicity stuff. I mean, I guess as female Thor, I've only read the first 2 issues of that, but it's better that I didn't really care. I wasn't really mad about it, or I didn't really care.
But it keeps
I like Thor, but I'm
it keeps you interested.
Hugely attached to it.
What's going to happen with this? Where's it going to go?
And it's the writer too. I mean, Jason Aaron's a pretty good writer. If it was a new writer, I'd probably be more skeptical. But I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. I think have faith that no matter what you do with this character,
even if you don't,
it's going to be good.
Yeah, even if you don't agree with a series that's coming out or the storyline, but if it has a writer you like attached to it, you may give it a few more issues than you would if it was just a no-name.
Yeah, more willing to at least have more of an open mind to it, I guess.
That's a positive for being a good writer.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of the best writers there. Not to say that DC doesn't have some great guys. I mean, Scott Snyder,
Jeff Johns.
Batman, I'm a big fan of his American Vampire series that's been going for a while that he initially developed with Stephen King. A lot of people might not know that.
Yeah, I always associate Snyder
and stuff,
and that with the Batman, and kind of the Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, a little more Jeff Johns.
I mean, past 10 years, Jeff Johns
just kind of
reinvented and reinvigorated Green Lantern.
And Grant Morrison with some of his
one of the all-time
a lot
greats.
of his
I mean, a lot of
DC
his stuff
work.
is just like, how do you even?
How do you even?
Yeah.
How do you even? I can't even, ladies.
I mean, Grant Morrison's written for both, but I guess he's more associated with DC now. But
it's like Frank Miller had that great Daredevil run and Batman. So
well, I mean, most of the big guys, illustrators and writers, have done both big companies. And a lot of them will still
just
do.
Overall, it feels like Marvel always wins in those arguments and debates. If you took a poll,
why don't we
Marvel
take a
or
poll?
DC?
Like, comment, subscribe, but more importantly, comment.
Yeah, because we do really appreciate you all's feedback, regardless of what feedback it is. But that is another thing, is because some people have kind of criticized Marvel for having basically carbon copies of some of DC's heroes, but it's one thing that I forget the name of the artist, which would kind of ruin the credibility. But there's a big debate on is X-Men a ripoff of DC's Doom Squad? Because apparently the Doom Squad, the lead guy was in a wheelchair, kind of like an older gentleman.
Professor X.
Yeah, basically like the Professor X. But then there's some people who are well, Doom Squad was basically a ripoff of Fantastic Four. But the guy that created Doom Squad was well, a lot of at the time, a lot of writers worked for both DC and Marvel, so you could have an open door. They're oh, well, what do you think about X-Men?
Yeah, I feel in the past they used to be a bit more open to each other.
Yeah, so it's kind of someone could walk by and be oh, X-Men, eh? Well, let's just do our own X-Men, and so I think that's
people,
because a lot of the characters that are very similar came out roughly around the same time. Yeah. So it's those maybe it could have just been coincidence. Others,
Hawkeye, Green Arrow.
I mean, there are some where
Deathstroke, Deadpool. That was always a big debate.
Yeah.
Adam,
personally, I like Deadpool a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, Deathstroke is awesome.
I like Deadpool.
I actually watched a video of a death battle between those two who would win. Really interesting. Because they are again basically the same person, but I just feel
different universe.
Yeah, just different universes.
As I understand it, Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke.
Yeah.
And Deadshot is a ripoff of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because Deadpool's more of the comedian.
Yeah.
Deadshot is more of a comic version of that, whereas Deathstroke's very serious.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, sure, they might have came after maybe the original, but if you come
with it.
Yeah, it's they can easily perfect some the imperfections in some of these characters. Deathstroke, they're oh, that's a really cool character. What if we made him a bit more comedic and kind of broke the fourth wall? Something that's not been done before.
Think about any other media. It's Sherlock Holmes and thousands of other detectives.
Yeah.
It's James Bond and Jason Bourne.
And,
yeah. Whatever spies, and I mean any other media has.
It's hard not. It's hard not to be almost exactly like another thing. Again,
especially
it's kind of
these
just
days. Nothing is original these days. I mean,
so it is just kind of the
as long as you take your own spin on it.
Yeah.
put your originality to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, what people would want to see anymore. I guess what I want to say anymore is not necessarily the originality of the character, but I guess the originality of the story.
Yeah. But any other like Marvel heroes who maybe like don't get enough credit or something, or maybe are a little less known that you all really like?
Not
that
that
you'd like to bring to attention.
Pop into my head at 1 a.m. Punisher was a good one. I kind of forgot until you mentioned him. Deadpool's big. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a few just like some characters in the X-Men universe that I feel don't get a lot of love. I was always a big fan of the Iceman.
Yeah, Iceman was pretty cool, and
I've always been a big Nightcrawler guy.
Yeah.
I always thought Colossus was cool.
I always thought Rogue was really cool.
I mean, there's so many just X-Men characters that, because when you think of X-Men, you obviously think of, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Cyclops.
Because that's another thing, is like X-Men
Professor
and
X.
the rest of the Marvel universe never
not
really.
huge.
Yeah,
I don't hate Wolverine, but I'm not a huge Wolverine fan. I think he's overrated.
Yeah, Wolverine was always one of my.
Overrated.
I liked him a lot as a kid. As I've gotten older and more, I guess, educated in comics, I can see where
I like
he
a
is
lot
a
of
little
the other
bit.
X-Men a lot more.
Yeah.
And I like more recently what they've
He's still
done,
one of my favorites, but
where Scott Summers is just such a conflicted character now with all the Avengers versus X-Men stuff. And
Yeah.
he killed Professor X, his mentor, for so long. I mean,
how could you?
I really like what's going on with X-Men. How they're all separated now.
Yeah.
Magneto's a part of the team, one team. And,
Which, probably another one of my favorite.
it's always been a more socially conscious thing too.
Characters is Magneto, which he's very underplayed. Like his like his power.
Especially,
he is insanely powerful.
His suit from the '90s show is cool.
It was, but like just the Earth's magnetism, that is almost this infinite amount of possibilities you could do. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people are on the assumption that he just controls metal. No, magnetism, like the Earth's magnetism. That's how he levitates. That is not a power where that's a bonus where he's like, oh, I can control metal. I can fly too. No, he uses the Earth's magnetism to levitate.
It's just that random, like, why can everybody fly?
Yeah. No, like
it makes a bit more sense.
Like, I feel like when they created Magneto, they weren't quite aware of how potentially insanely powerful he is.
Yeah, you could say a lot of those characters.
Yeah.
Really. It's like, oh, that would be a cool power. Let's do that. But then when you actually get into like the
but,
science of it, like,
I don't think that
he could actually do that.
Yeah.
If you thought about it.
Yeah, but another thing that I like about Magneto is he's the main antagonist, I guess, of the X-Men series overall, but he's not evil. He's just more on the extremist.
Yeah, I mean, I always like that.
And just the dynamic between him
no
and
black and white. It's, they, every good character will have. They have their own reasons for doing things. They're not. It's not necessarily I'm the bad guy. And that's why I'm going to destroy the world.
But also, I just love the dynamic between him and Xavier, where they're on, basically the polar opposite spectrums, but they still have that huge,
want the same thing.
Yeah, and they have that huge amount of respect for each other.
Power.
So in I think the older X-Men movies, one of Magneto's henchmen was, like, oh, do you want me to kill, Charles? And he's like, no, I don't want you to kill him.
We can't have him.
Because again, it's that respect for each other. It's like, sure, we differ, but we can still see eye to eye, and we're not just like, oh, I hate you, Charles, I'm gonna kill you. I hate you, Magneto, I'll kill you
once
too.
you kill him, it's like, well, it's over.
Yeah.
Another character I really dug as a kid was a Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Silver Surfer's a pretty cool character that...
Yeah, just love the look of him.
Yeah.
See him as a kid and, like, on cartoons and stuff. It's like, it's really cool what he does. And
I didn't really know much about him. I was just like, this guy's cool.
I got his toy, and I would always be playing with it.
I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is really cool.
Nude silver man.
That's what appeals to the kids, they're not going to be out reading comics.
I mean, even if they do, they're not going to care about the story or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, back when
see the action.
I used to get Spider-Man as a kid. I couldn't even tell you what the story was.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, he's swinging,
swinging
around, he's fighting Doc Ock. He's,
Yeah.
So he's squirting those webs in everybody's eyes.
But, Doctor Strange, I think, is a really cool character.
The list could
I'm
go
glad
on
that they're
so.
doing a movie with him. And I think that'll kind of bring light to this.
They're getting more into the magic side of things. And just another, another element to diversifying, I guess.
But, any of the other things you all would like to point out before we close this one out, gentlemen?
I think as we said,
Decent
there's
rambling about comics.
There's plenty of
Marvel
characters.
specifically.
Yeah.
But I think
we'll get to
covered the basis on the top of our heads. So.
Yeah.
Get more specific if you all want.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Ones, we can talk about some Vertigo titles or what. Someone will mention that too. We were just kind of talking mostly about Marvel. Yeah, we mentioned DC, but it's kind of hard not to mention the distinguished competitor. As they call them.
And if you guys want to hear DC,
we've done a DC podcast. We could easily
delve more into that. We get more specific on characters or whatever. We can talk about, some other Image, Vertigo, like I said, whatever publishers or certain series you all might want to hear our opinions on.
Or I guess before we close it out, any recommendations aside from the ones that we've mentioned? I guess just like heroes in general that you all would recommend to audiences who are maybe less familiar with some of these characters and just comics in general.
As we've said a lot of times, Ultimate Spider-Man's a really good place to start with.
I think
with Spider-Man.
I think any Ultimate series really.
Talking about the 2000 about Brian Michael Bendis. Bit of a fresher take on the character. It's not the same old.
Yeah.
It's the same characters, but kind of told in a
that'd be my
way.
That'd be my number one recommendation for
way.
Someone wanting to start out.
Start getting into,
especially like the middle school, high school age.
Spider-Man.
That's all I got.
It's like 1 in the morning.
Yeah. But hopefully you all enjoyed this.
One recommendation. Just one.
Well, no, I mean, like throughout the whole series, I think we kind of mentioned some of our favorite heroes, and they can go on that on. And again, we did mention Ant-Man and Hobgoblin series are really really good.
There was
more of the recent stuff.
You guys like more villain type stuff. There was a Venom series.
Yeah.
I think ran only about maybe 40-ish issues by Rick Remender. It was quite good. It's again a little bit different take on the character. It's Flash Thompson, who was the bully who used to beat Peter Parker up, but Flash is.
And Peter got the best of him.
Yes.
Flash is a war veteran now, and he's lost his legs. Serving his country. They give a lot of great backstory, with his alcoholic father and stuff, and you learn a lot more about Flash and I guess how he uses the Venom symbiote.
Well.
Yeah, I thought it was a good series though. If people want to check out.
Yeah, that was
more
a good
about
one.
The villains
I kind of forgot about it, but I did enjoy that.
Yeah. So.
It's the only other thing popping in my head. So.
I think we did a pretty good job in covering the basis and giving recommendations. But if you guys would like to see more of comic book discussions and whatnot, let us know. We can easily do that.
Or book discussions?
Book discussions.
Some of us read other things.
Yeah. Book talk.
Or movies, just, again, any topics you all would like us to discuss, leave your comments and we shall do our best to get to it. So, until next time, everyone, cheers.